Today's how-to, we're going to show you how to professionally install a custom kitchen. We start normally once we get all the drawings put together by our kitchen designer. We print all those out and we post them within the kitchen so that it's easier to get the cabinets in place where they go as you take them out of the boxes. We can always refer back to the drawings hanging here, ease of access, so that we can, as we're assembling the cabinets, we can reference these drawings to see exactly where each cabinet goes. We've already started putting two bases together, but I'll go ahead and go through with you on exactly what we did there. But first thing, we like to remove all the drawers and doors first thing, and be sure to identify each of those pieces. We use just some painter's tape and a Sharpie, and we identify a base, not necessarily the location, just the base itself, so that when we go to sort through the doors and drawers later, we can easily get them back in the right position. Left and right on your doors, if you have double doors. Drawers, we mark probably like a DB, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 on that base specifically. This one's a wastebasket here, so it's easily identified. On a standard base, it might just be one door, one drawer, but we still identify. Like you see here, this is next to the dishwasher. We just wrote DWDB, and then we identify the drawer and the door that goes with that. As you can see, now not everyone may have 4 drills to work with necessarily. You can do this with 1, but I like to set up 4 drills because there's 4 steps to putting 2 of your cabinets together. First, I have a countersink with a tapered bit. I run that first in the cabinet, and that gets the countersink for the screw ready. We use these Torx screws, and generally all the cabinets go together with a 2.5-inch screw. You don't want to do anything less or more than that. Less, the cabinets won't hold that well. More than that, you might blow out the other side. So we use 2.5-inch screws to put the 2 cabinets together. First thing we do, set the bases in place, and as you can see, I've got a shim under here just to get this alignment at the top perfect. And then we use these little mini squeeze clamps to hold the 2 stiles on the cabinet together for the flush alignment on the front. You want to be able to barely feel any kind of surface to surface difference there. You want to get those aligned, get those squeezed together before you start doing any drilling. And like I said, at first, you go in with this taper with a countersink. That countersink's your screws into the stile. Run that in there first, just enough to make sure the screw, when it's in place, is nice and flush with the surface. Bit number 2, what it does is it pilots into the second cabinet just a tad less than the diameter of the body of the screw, so that the threads grab and you're not actually, if you don't do that, you'll split this stile right here, because the screw will want to split that apart because of the thickness of the screw. Third, I'll set the drill bit to where it's just about the depth of the screw, and then I'll put a Sharpie mark on the screw, or on the drill bit, so that you don't drill too deep. What that tells me is where to stop on this cabinet here as I'm piloting into the other one. Fourth would be setting the screw. I've already pre-drilled this one. I like to use these torque bit screws because the heads don't strip out as easy as a Phillips screw. These are Torx head construction screws. They're pretty strong, so they work really well. Just like that. On the top of the cabinet, whatever your spacing is here in between the cabinets, we'll get the back set to that same dimension. It's a 1/2 inch. So what we've done is created, out of some base mold, we've put together a whole bunch of little 1/2 inch pieces. I like to mount the back of the cabinet together. That way when you're moving them and sliding them, they're not hinging on the front and possibly breaking the front. So we'll slip a little block in there. Squeeze that together, and then we'll pilot with our countersink bit or any bit. run that through there. And I'll use 2-inch screws back here. This doesn't have to be real pretty. This is all underneath the countertop. All you're doing here is just basically getting these two cabinets secured together while you're moving them around to get them mounted in place. Now we normally set all our wall cabinets first, but over here there's no wall cabinets, so that's why we're doing the bases first over here. We'll get these set in place, and then we'll take a look at the sink base. This is one area that I see people do a lot of damage to a base cabinet. As you can see, there's 6 penetrations in the wall here that we have to cut into the back of this cabinet. We're going to do our best to attempt to get each one of these locations transferred over to the cabinet, and then have that cabinet slide right on those, where you have a nice clean hole in each of those locations. So we need to put escutcheons on them, and our cover plates for our dishwasher and our garbage disposal outlet. When you look in the front of the cabinet, everything will be clean and perfectly fit. So, first thing on setting the base cabinet, before we mark all the, identify all the penetrations in the back of the cabinet, we've transferred the height of this cabinet from the floor up to the wall. I usually don't measure from floor up. I like to go from the top of the cabinet down for my measurements. They just end up more accurate that way. And we've also established the edge line here. Now be careful when you're doing your layout on your lines. You don't forget to adjust for this 1/4 inch difference from the side panel to the actual face of the stile there. There's a 1/4 inch different on most cabinets. Make sure you move back over if you're going to use that as a reference line to pull your tape off that edge, or you'll end up with a 1/4 inch bust on all your layouts. All right, we'll transfer all these center lines from this line to the back of the cabinet first, and then we'll come from this line over to our center lines of each opening for all the penetrations. Okay, so we've transferred all 7 penetrations to the back of the cabinet. As you can see, you've got the 2 boxes laid out here for the dishwasher and garbage disposal. And then when I do my layouts for the sanitaries, I like to put a bigger circle around my point so that when I'm drilling, I remember which size was which. And then for the copper lines, the supply lines, water supplies, I put a smaller circle around those so that just when I'm drilling, or just for a reference quickly, I don't run the wrong hole saw through the wrong opening. Now I like to, first, all these points, I like to run a 3/16 inch drill bit through the back of all those centers. And these here, we'll use a different tool to cut these out. I'll show you that in a minute, but I like to actually identify my corners. All 4 corners. I'll explain why in a minute. I go back to front so that we have the layout transferred to the other side, and then I'll actually drill all those from this side. If you drill all those holes from the back side, you'll blow out this finish on the inside. As you can see, just running that 3/16 inch bit, it starts to delaminate some of the finish on the inside of the cabinet. So you drill this direction and you'll have a nice clean hole, and you won't have any flares or the finish delaminating on you. So I've transferred the outlet boxes to the inside of the cabinet again, so that we can cut from this face out that way, so we don't blow the inside of the cabinet out. And I'll use a oscillating, I call it a jam cutter. It's just an oscillating saw. That's the best thing to do. You can use, old days we used a jigsaw, but now these. All right, here we go. This is where you either panic or you go, phew. 7 holes in the back of a cabinet, you hope the darn thing fits. Okay, just like that. Now our escutcheons will finish cleaning up the holes there. Those will hide with some escutcheons on there and it'll look like it grew there. Okay, we have the end cabinet on the left side of the dishwasher set. We've got the dishwasher in and temporarily set. We have it temporarily plumbed in to test it for leaks and for functionality. We've got the cover plates back on inside the cabinet. The rest of the escutcheons will go on when the rest of the plumbing is completed inside the kitchen sink base. We're getting ready to install bronze coated stainless farm sink. That's what the owner has selected. Now we're not going to be able to actually install it completely in the position it's supposed to go due to the 45-degree angle in the kitchen cabinets here. This drawer, this farm sink is sitting out where it's supposed to be. This drawer hits it, so we'll actually be setting it back into the sink base just a little bit. It's supposed to, this point right here is supposed to hit the stiles on the cabinet. We're gonna have to actually cut the stiles of the cabinet down to where the sink sits back in about 3 inches further than where it's supposed to sit, so that we have the drawer clearance we need. There's multiple ways to do these farm sinks. The sink bases are made generally smaller than what the farm sinks are, and then you have to cut whatever you need to get the farm sink in position. So we've got that laid out. We've already cut out the temporary bracing from the factory, and we'll make these cuts here to get the sink in place, and then we'll show you how to support the farm sink. This is an under cabinet, under counter mount farm sink, so we'll show you how to properly support that inside the cabinet. We use painter's tape to identify exactly where the cut's going to be, and also to keep, when we make the cut, to keep the finish from flaking off on the areas that are going to be the finished portion of the sink base. Sometimes I'll take a knife and actually score that line on there, just so when you're making the cut, some of the wood doesn't flake off and flake some of the finish off. We'll also be, after the sink is set, we'll run a real small fine bead of silicone down both sides. We'll make a nice tight cut and then a little small bead of silicone down each side just to clean up the last of the cut. We'll be using battery jigsaw as well as oscillating cutter to make these cuts. We'll show you. Like I said, we're going to take a knife and just lightly score right down through here where the edge of the tape is and where we're going to make the cut. I'll use this method on interior doors too. Finished interior doors that are already painted, if you have to cut the bottom of them off when you lay carpet and the carpet actually is rubbing the bottom of the door, we'll many times make a score right where we're going to make the cut on the bottom of the door so it doesn't flake the paint off the finish on the door. This works well for keeping the finish from flaking when you make the cut. Cutout done. We're going to, since we're doing a modified install on this sink, we're going to have to do a little notch on the cabinet right at this area here where this was supposed to actually sit recessed back in here with the stiles on the cabinet. We have to notch for this little area right here where it's going to sit on the cabinet, like in this little area right here. We'll have to notch that down just a little bit. But another thing I forgot to mention was, if you're doing a farm sink, when you go to design your cabinets, make sure your cabinet designer knows exactly which sink you're going to be using so that they can order you the proper cabinet for your sink that you're going to use, as well as on the microwave cabinet too. On the custom cabinets, you can get the microwaves wherever you want. Just make sure the box is the right size for whatever built-in microwave you're going to use, and also that they've made the cabinet downsized enough so you can make these cuts on this too to get your microwave fit. Okay, let's see if it fits. Alright, looks like that'll work. Like I said, we'll have to make these little notches here so that it sits down on the tub, on that rail. And also the top of the sink ends up flush with the top of the cabinets. That way when the countertop comes over top, it lays in here. And like I said, this is an undermount sink. So we put the sink in position. The countertop's going to sit actually on the cabinet. The countertop doesn't officially rest on the sink. So we've got the sink flush with the countertop. We put a couple temporary blocks in here, clamped onto the cabinet to hold the back edge of the sink. We pulled it right up to where it's perfectly flush with the top of the cabinet. And then underneath, we've identified the bottom of the sink, put some marks on the cabinet, cut a couple blocks, screwed them together, an L block support, and those will stay permanent. We'll get those all painted up and pretty. They're resting on this far edge of the cabinet, so they're supported all the way down to the floor. It's not actually holding the countertop. It's granite or corian, where the top you do. All those are doing officially is supporting the weight of the sink and water and whatever's in it. And we've got the microwave cabinet laid out and ready for cut. Same thing, when the microwave goes in here, it'll have some blocks under it that support it. We've got it centered between what's going to be this drawer front down here on the bottom and the top cabinet doors. That way the microwave's perfectly centered between those 2 points. We'll get that cut. Okay, so we're over here installing the final pieces in the kitchen here. As you see, these wall cabinets are 2-piece upper cabinets. These upper ones have glass panels in them like these over here. So when we install those, we put the lower one on first and we set the upper cabinet. And before you mount the upper cabinet to the wall, these have finished end panels. So we'll put the end panel on first, get it in place. The reason we don't screw this into the wall yet so that we can get this joint here all the way tight, since there's 2 pieces, in case there's a little bit of hinge there, we can pull that joint all the way together. And we'll just pin nail those. Some really small 3/4 inch pin nails. Pin nail these on. You can't even see the nails. Barely with the naked eye, you can see those. Now in this cabinet here, out of all the cabinets we did, we had one little incident. That was supposed to be that outlet there. We set this one to the height of the other one and discovered we needed to come down a foot. Now if something like that happens, we'll have to do a repair on this. We'll pick up a piece of this back panel, cut it to fit, put it over top of this back panel, and then shrink the shelves just a tad to cover that. This refrigerator side panel, the base cabinet will have a toe kick in it. We can bring the finished toe kick over to this panel. Now I've seen you can also cut these out for a toe kick if you like your panel to come all the way over and for this to look like. I've seen these both ways. We're gonna leave ours right to the floor. It just hides a little bit more of the refrigerator. Also, something else you don't ever want to see or do is leave your drill standing up like this. You'll surely knock it over and it'll come down, put holes in the floor, scratch your cabinets or whatever. Always remember to lay all your tools down sideways. Less likely to fall off and do damage to something. Especially when you're working around finished countertops. I've seen carpenters and other people set drills up vertically like this and knock them over. Your tip will surely put a gouge in the countertop or in the granite or whatever type of countertop you have, and then you have a real problem. So we'll bring you crown mold install and countertop install on another video in the future. Don't forget to subscribe, so if you're interested in catching either of those videos or any of our other how-to videos, you can do that. So, and contractors, remember, Do not set your drills up like this on the countertops or on your cabinets or anywhere, because they'll get knocked over. So be sure to lay your drills down. Again, I can't emphasize that enough. If it tips over and hits a $3,000 countertop, you own it. And contractors, remember, if you make a mistake on something, be sure to let your homeowner know. Don't leave for the day and come back and let your homeowner find a mistake. Be sure to tell your homeowner if you've made a mistake. That way you can figure out how to correct it or what the proper correction is going to be. Don't let them find it on their own. That's all we have. I'm Donnie Clem, we're Clem Construction Group.